Hey guys, good morning everybody. Sorry about that. Just some technical issues that I wanted to resolve. Welcome to the our second theory session today, the second C theory stream. As I said, I'm gonna make a sequence of them. I'm gonna try to focus on some theory stuff. Just gonna try to kind of help you guys out, see how you should be doing stuff, how you should be working on your game, how you can improve your game, what kind of exercises you want to do, how do you want to analyze your game, etc., etc. Yesterday we started with opening ranges, as you can see here on the screen. We made charts for every position, then we analyzed my opening ranges and compared them to to theory and we kind of saw where I'm standing out, right? Where my game should be adjusted, either like my ranges should be widened or tightened or whatever. Um, and today I decided to do a short session on 3betting. So we're gonna make a new note here. I'm gonna go for a title theory breakfast number 2, 3betting. So like with 3betting, it's like a lot of people don't know how to construct their 3betting ranges. Like luckily there's a lot of charts out there nowadays. You can find them on the internet pretty easily, which means that you don't need to do this stuff on your own. But what I want to do is kind of show you how, like, if you want to construct your range, how you would go about it, right? I am going to do it, probably trying to do it position by position, but we are going to kind of generalize a bit. So we are going to kind of see like what our 3betting ranges should be versus UTG in position, out of position, not from every position, right? Because I mean, you can just widen it a bit, tighten it a bit, and that's pretty much it. But I would just want to give you a general picture of how things should be done, right? So, what you want to do is when you're 3betting, you want to be balanced, right? You want to be balanced, which means that like for every value hand that you're 3betting, you want to have approximately two bluffing combinations, right? So if let's say you're just 3betting aces, that is 6 combinations, right? 6 combinations of aces out there. So that means that you want to have 12 additional combinations that are bluffs. Okay, so you want to have a total of 18 combinations. So yeah, just give me a second. Let me just open something here, just put it here. So for example, he has to pay 6 for a pot of 12, I guess. No, okay, so 6 for the pot of 18, right? Yeah, okay. So basically what I'm trying to show you here is, just a second, what happened? Okay. Um like where do we get those numbers, right? Where do we get this ratio that we want to have one value hand versus two bluffs? Well, it basically comes down when you are 3betting, the odds you're giving to the opponent. For example, if somebody opens to 3 big blinds, right? So let's say opponent opens to 3 big blinds. We 3bet to 9 big blinds. So uh, so the total pot is 12 big blinds now, right? Opponent has to pay 6 big blinds, right? To win a total pot of 12 big blinds plus the 6 that he's putting in. So the equation would be so he has to pay 6 to win 12 plus 6, right? So this is like 6 divided by 18. That equates to 1/3. That would equate to 33%. So he's getting 33% pot odds, right? So he has like giving this pot odds like 1/3 pot odds. It means that like we want like for him to be indifferent to calling our 3bet or just playing back versus that 3bet. We should have one value hand. Like those 1/3 should be value. Those 2/3 should be bluffs. And that's pretty much where it comes to. So for every one value hand we 3bet, we should have to bluff, something like that. Okay. Easy example. We 3bet ace for value. 6 combos. So we need 2 times more bluffs. That equates 12 combos of bluffs. So I hope this is clear to you guys. This is just some simple math, and I'm sure you don't need to kind of like really dig into it. It doesn't really matter. But just given the like, obviously it depends on like if you 3-bet to a bigger size, right? Or if you 3-bet to a smaller size, it depends on that, right? So for example, if you 3-bet super low, you need less bluffs. You need to add less bluffs, right? You have to have more ready hands. If you 3-bet to a bigger size, for example, let's say you would 3-bet here to, I don't know, 50 big blinds or something like that. Let's say you make it 6 additional, so he would have 25%. So you need 3 more bluffs, right? You would have to have more bluffs in your range if you make it bigger. So yeah. Anyway, let's go and try to construct some ranges real quick, so you'll see how we do. First of all, obviously the first position is UTG, right? So we're gonna first try to construct 3-betting versus UTG in position. So meaning when we're in the MP, cutoff, or button, right? So what do we want to do is we want to open Equilab, right? We're going to do a lot of the stuff with the Equilab because it's going to be pretty simple. There are numbers already in, and you're going to see why I'm telling you it's super simple like that. So basically what we're trying to do, just a second, let me just put this here. So now we want to evaluate what we are first, like what you want to do is always kind of define which hands you're 3-betting for value. So versus UTG, I'm probably gonna be 3-betting like kings and aces for value, and probably that's pretty much it. Ace king suited, something like this. Like I don't want to be 3-betting queens MP versus UTG. I mean, I'm even mixing it up. I'm even flatting aces and kings, right? But we wanna create a general strategy that you can stick to, and you know it's gonna have solid foundations, right? So for example, this range consists of 16 combos, right? It is 1.2%. So we want to have twice as many bluffs, so like 2.4% bluffs, which means the total range should be 3.6%, right? So total range 3.6%, something like that. 1.2% value, 2.4% bluffs, right? Just now, like we decided this, like we kind of figured this out just by selecting all the hands we 3-bet for value. We saw what percentage of the hands that is, and we know we want to have twice as many bluffs, right? Now, like we need 2.4% of bluff. That's pretty easy to get. For example, if you go like this, and this, you're already across. Like for example, if you would be 3-betting for bluffs like king queen off, queen jack off, and king 10 off, it would already be over it, right? So we cannot just look at like this. We want to think what hands do we want to have as a bluff 3-bet. We definitely want to have hands that have blockers, really good blockers. This is like ace jack off and king queen off. I think these two hands are pretty good because they are blocking aces, they're blocking ace king, they're blocking kings, they're blocking queens, right? So I think these are pretty fine. And we're already at 3%. So if we add another offsuit combo, we're going to be over right away. So we want to go to the suited hands. And again, I'm going to choose hands with blockers. This is going to be ace-x suited. So I'm going to start like with ace-5 suited, and we see it's already 3.3%. So we can just add ace-4 suited, and voila, we're there, 3.6%, right? And that's it. Like this is all you want to be 3-betting versus UTG in position. And I think this is going to be well balanced. You're not going to be able to be bluffed off your hand, so I think this should be totally fine. And I am going to copy paste this and put it in here. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer. I'll probably answer the questions at the end. But what we're trying to do right now is just to give you a feeling how you should do things. Hopefully you understand what we're doing now, right? So, okay, let's go to the next one. So we are going to go versus UTG in small blind and big blind. This is out of position basically, right? Here I think you want to have it pretty much the same. I mean, you can widen it a bit. You can widen it a tiny bit. Just a second. You can widen it a tiny bit. For example, let me put in this. So let's clear matrix. So we want to do aces, kings, ace king suited, and maybe add ace king off, something like that to widen it a bit off. So we are at 2.1%, right? So we want to widen our and like ace king off. I mean, this is gonna be too wide if we go. I think like maybe we can choose like half of the combos of ace king or something like that. Let's try to just half of the combos, right? Just this half. So we are going to be 1.66, right? So we want to add like around 3%, something like that, even less. Like you don't always want to add as much combos as you don't want to add like exactly twice as many combos, but something approximately like that. So for example, in this spot, you can be 3-betting hands like small pocket pairs as a bluff, and I think I would go with some suited connectors like 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited, 8-7, 6-7, 6-5, something like that. I think should be fine. Maybe I just remove this. Maybe it's gonna be too wide. 4s, 3s, 10-9, 9-8, down to 6-5. This sounds fine. Yeah, I think this is something that can work. Like I think this should be totally balanced. You have good board coverage with your bluffs when you get called. With this hands, you're never gonna get dominated, right? And you have to realize you're out of position, so it makes it a bit harder to play. I think this is fine. Like 4% should be fine. You could go a bit wider, you can add deuces and you'll be exactly there, but I think this should be fine. So we have this like value hands here and some bluffs. I think something like that should be totally fine in the small blind, right? So I'm gonna make a screenshot and put it in like this. And now we are going to do the same for just a second, guys. Let me just make this a bit smaller so you're going to be able to see it. Just a second. I'm going to put it like this so you're going to be able to see these things. So here it's going to be versus MP in position, right? So now we're going to go versus middle position and check how we should be doing in this spot. So versus MP, again, you don't want to be super wide, but you definitely want to be wider than versus versus UTG. So it's the same, ace king suited, ace king, aces and kings, something like this. And I think we can add queens here, something like that, right? So if we again multiply this, if we see it's 1.6% value, so you want to have like around 3.2% bluff. So we want to have around 4.8% total hands for bluffing, right? And again, we are gonna go with the same hands, blockers, ace jack off, king queen off, ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited. As you can see, we are at 4.07, so we need like what, half a percent more. And now, I mean, you can definitely widen it up with these hands, like ace 3 suited, ace 2 suited, or again, you can mix it up and add some suited connectors, suited 1 gappers, suited 2 gappers, so suited 1 gappers, yeah. For example, like 10-8 suited and 9-7 suited. The reason why I'm adding this, why I prefer adding this versus ace 3, ace 2 suited is because of the board coverage. Like you have those bluffs when you get called, you're going to be able, like with this distribution, you're going to be able to hit significantly more flops, right? Because with 9-7 suited, 10-8 suited, you're going to be hitting a lot of like 9-8, 6, 6-7, 8, 10, 10, 5, 5 flops, instead of having ace 3 suited that hits pretty much the same flops as ace 5 suited, right? So yeah, I think something like this should be pretty fine. Sorry, we 10-8 suited, 9-7 suited, ace 5, something like this, right? Oh, so sorry, ace jack and king queen off. Yeah, exactly. So something like this, I think, should be fine. I hope this is kind of makes sense for you guys. If it doesn't, let me know and I can further explain things to you, but I think it should be pretty clear what we're trying to do here, hopefully. So again, we are gonna copy paste it here. I mean, as you can see, it's a pretty easy topic. It's not like a huge science behind it. It's all just doing the math behind it, right? So yeah, let's go. Now we have to do versus MP. So we go versus MP, versus MP3, versus MP in small blind. Or let's go with the, yeah, let's go with the small blind. Here we want to differentiate a bit. So let's see what we want to do in the small blind. We want to go a bit wider than in position here. And just because we were not flatting a lot in the small blind, we're not calling a lot in the small blind, so we want to be 3-betting a bit more. What we want to do is, obviously for value, we are going to go with queens plus, obviously, right? Queens plus, ace king off, ace king suited. I think we can add ace queen suited here for value too, something like that, right? I mean, let's say it's not exactly for value, something like this. What do you want to do? 2.5. We want to be like here, like in out of position. We don't want to have that many bluffs. I think we can cut down on bluffs a little bit and have around, let's say, 6% range, 3-betting range here versus MP. I think it should be enough. And again, like where do we want to go? I think here we want to go with suited connector, just because, again, the same principle as versus UTG in those blinds. Just because I think something like that. What can we add to, like, pocket pairs? 5s, 4s, 3s, deuces, I guess, something like that. Maybe even 6s. 6.3, I think this is wide enough. This might be even a bit too wider, but I'm gonna leave it like that because I think it's fine to have such a range. So we're 3-betting like top to 2.5% for value, and then we have our bluffing range consisting of small pocket pairs and some suited connectors for board coverage. I think this should be a good strategy to use for 3-betting versus the MP in small blind. So let's copy paste it here, and then we are going to go so 5 versus MP in big blind, right? So we're gonna take a look at the big blind. Pretty much like in the big blind, there's not gonna be a huge amount of difference. I don't think there should actually. I think he should pretty much use the same range there. Well, the problem in the big blind is you want to be cutting off the pocket pairs, right? So you want to do this for value, again, the same, pretty much like this, right? Oh, we forgot to add ace queen suited in the small blind, did we? Yeah, we forgot to include it. Just a second, guys. So I'm gonna make another screenshot like this. So something like this. This is 7. No, it's 6.6. Okay, 6.6%. That is fine. I'm just gonna add this picture again. Sorry about that. I forgot. I think ace queen suited can be 3-bet small blind versus MP. Just a second. So let's say we use this. I'm gonna put it like here. Okay, so let's go now to the big blind, right? The big blind. The catch with the big blind is we want to have pretty much the same percentage, but we have to. The problem is we're not like we don't want to be 3-betting those pocket pairs. I think you just want to be flatting those pocket pairs most of the time and set mining because there's nobody behind you that can 3-bet, right? So I think this you want to be like removing them, right? So we want to be adding some more suited connectors and something like 6-5 suited, maybe even 5-4 suited as a bluff. You can even widen at the top, I guess. Let's see, maybe queen 10 suited, jack 9 suited, 10-8 suited. Now we're at 5.8%. I think this is fine. I think like in the big blind you should be flatting a bit more because there you're closing the action. There's nobody behind you that can 3-bet, right? So I think it's totally fine to just have a bit of a tighter 3-betting range here. So I think something like this should be totally fine in the big blind. So I'm gonna make a screenshot of that. If you guys disagree or if you think that we should be constructing things differently, feel free to let me know what you think about it. Why would you disagree? What do you think that could be done differently? In what way? So yeah, let's take a look at just a second. We're in the cutoff now, right? So small blind, okay. Yeah, we go to the cutoff. So cutoff in position, right? So we go 6 versus cutoff in position. So this is basically like 3-betting in the button, right? Button. This is solely button versus cutoff, right? Because this is the only position that we are going to be in position with. So here we obviously want to be 3-betting a bit more. I told you guys we were 3-betting versus MP in position around 5%, right? So we're gonna type it around, just a second, so around 5%, something like that, right? So versus cutoff in position, I think we want to be, let's take a look. So versus cutoff, what do? We go jacks, queens, aces, kings, like jacks plus, we go for value. I think you can go like ace king suited, ace king off, something like that, right? Then again, there's a, like, the thing is, like, we have 3% now, so it means that we should be overall 3-betting 9% versus cutoff. I think that is going to be a bit too wide. Button versus cutoff, I think something around 8% should be fine. So you can either, like, again, we can just use only half combos of ace king, for example, and flat some, right? Or we can also flat some aces or some strong hands versus here. So we give the options to the blinds to squeeze, etc., etc. Right? These are really complex positions, so it's gonna be hard to kind of make a fine chart that is going to be all applicable, because there's so many factors there, right? A lot of the times you're going to be looking at the blinds on how they're playing and how do you want to construct your ranges. But let's say we want to do something like this for value, right? Versus cutoff, and let's see how this would. I mean, you can add ace queen suited for sure, but, like, I mean, you can easily flat ace queen suited button versus cutoff. I think it's totally fine. I mean, it's, as I said, it's gonna be really hard to construct like a firm ranges that don't fall into more categories, but we're just gonna leave it like this for the sake of simplicity, right? Yeah, so we need around 7.5%, right, range, something like that. So again, we are going to go with some blockers. This time we're not going to use ace jack as a blocker, because we are going to be flatting with those hands here. I think button versus cutoff, calling with ace jack, totally fine. So we're going to go a bit lower and going to use ace 10 off. The same goes with king jack off, because king queen off is going to be a flat there because it's strong enough, right? So we said we want to do 7.5. So now we want to be using all the suited connectors, I think. I mean, all the small suited aces here to get to that point. So we're at 6.18 here. Let's see, what do we want to use? Queen jack off definitely could be a good 3-bet. Queen jack off. And then again, like with those small suited connectors, I guess you can use them. I mean, they're a fine flat too. That's, again, kind of a spot where so tight to decide what's the best thing to do. But I think if you have something like this for your 3-betting range, button versus cutoff, I think it should be fine. So this is like, what, 7-8% almost. This is maybe too much. Maybe we can remove like 7-6 suited, something like that, and we're at 7.6. I think this should be fine. I mean, you can easily just drop out those suited connectors, right? You can just flat those hands in that position a bit more, and I think you should be just doing fine. So it's around 7.6%, right? Something like that. I missed this. 7.6%, something like this. And we are going to put it in. Okay, so let's go again, 7 versus cutoff in small blind. Let's take a look at the small blind. Again, you want to be probably pretty much the same wide. I think a bit. I think you can go a bit wider. Again, like what we're gonna be doing for value is we're definitely gonna be adding ace queen suited here, because we don't want to flat too much in those spots. So we're gonna extend our value 3-betting range in the small blind quite a lot in that spot, I think. Let's see what else do you want to do. We obviously want to have some small pocket. Well, these are bluff, but basically for value it's gonna be something like this, like 2.9%, right? So we want to have around 8 something percent as bluffs, right? Obviously we want to go with some small pocket pairs that you can 3-bet. Then hands like suited connector that we were using before, I think in the small blind are fine to be 3-bet, something like this, 5-4 suited up to here. And then we start expanding again. Jack 10 suited, Jack 9 suited, 10-8 suited is fine, 9-7 suited we can also add. What else can we add? I mean, we can go. I think we can start extending in this spot, like king 10 suited, queen 10 suited, something like this should be, I think, a good range. That's what, like 8.3%. I think something like this should be fine. I mean, also you can add some small suited aces for sure. That's also fine, like small suited aces. They are doing fine versus flats too, to be honest. There, so I mean, I guess you can go both ways in this spot. Something like this, or maybe I think like king 10 suited. I think I prefer king 10, queen 10 suited. So maybe something like this. Again, this is just a guideline, guys. I mean, you can always extend in the different direction, right? The problem, like the thing is, you just wanna get the numbers right. I mean, for example, if you are like three betting like X percent of hands for value, you wanna be balanced with bluffs, right? So you wanna have 2 times as much approximately, right? And the way to get to that point, you can get there in several ways, right? You can use those hands, queen 10, queen 9, or you can use like small suited aces, right? For example. And I think both have their benefits, both have their disadvantages. So I think it's just up to you which ones you prefer to use, right? Cutoff and big blind. Now we're gonna take a look at the big blind again. By the way, guys, I am going to answer the questions at the end, okay? Uh, Just a sec. Yeah, I see some questions there. I'm gonna answer at the end. Just next, hey there, mate. Johnny, hey there, Faisal. How's everyone doing? By the way, just to be clear, you call it MP hijack cutoff button small blind blind, or no? I call it UTG MP cutoff button small blind big blind. I don't use the phrase hijack. I don't know. It's just kind of something that I never used. So yeah. And the rest of the questions we are going to answer later on. So yeah. Um, so yeah, we're in the big blind. We want to take a look at what we are three betting in the big blind, right? So three bet big blind versus cutoff. Obviously, we're gonna use the same value range, right? Probably jacks plus, ace king suited, ace queen suited. I think these are fine three bets. Ace king off, something like this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, 3.3%. The thing is, again, we're taking out the small pocket pairs from our bluff 3 betting range in the big blind because we're closing the action, so we can more easily just flat them and see the flop, right? Um, so yeah, what do we want to put in here? I guess we go versus the same things. Like I'm not gonna 3-bet king 10 suited, queen 10 suited because those hands we are flatting in the big blind now, right? Again, we're closing the action, so we're pretty happy to call with king 10 suited, queen 10 suited, right? So we have to go one line down. So I'm gonna take hands like king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, something like that, right? Again, 10-8 suited, 9-7 suited should be fine. Again, some of those small suited connectors. I mean, you can call with like 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited. You should be 3-betting a decent amount of those though. Suited aces, again, you can 3-bet them, you can flat them. I think both is fine. The problem here is if you're flatting too many of those hands, you don't have enough hands that you're bluffing with, right? So you can either like flat with those and add some other 3-bets like queen 8 suited, jack 9, jack 8 suited, something like that. Or you can remove those, right? I mean, you can add those as a bluff 3-bet range and have them here, or you can remove them and add some other hands, right? So let's see what else. I mean, I guess like we could still use some smallish pocket pairs because they play easier as a 3-bet in the big blind. To achieve the necessary depth here. 9-8 suited, I guess 3-bet bluff 3-betting is fine. I think in both ways you can go both ways. Again, the problem here is ace 10 off, for example. We don't want to be 3-betting it again, right, as a bluff. We want to be flatting with that hand because it's just strong enough. So I mean, off suited aces, I don't like using them. I rather use the hands on the suited spectrum of the chart, right? But I think something like this should be totally fine. Something like this for a value versus bluffing range in the big blind. Again, like I mean, you will always use those charts as a guideline, right? And then deviate from them later on. Like for example, my gameplay today, I am flatting. I think I'm flatting in the big blind a lot. I'm flatting way more than I'm 3-betting. So um, since I'm flatting hands like, I don't know, small suited aces, I'm flatting a lot of suited connectors. It also means that I have to flat a lot of value hands like aces, kings for a lot of the times in that spot, which kind of makes sense, right? But then again, as I said, if you're trying to find a simple way how to play to construct these ranges, I think this is gonna be a good way to go with it, right? So now we have like only two left, right? So we have versus button in small blind, and then we have versus button in big blind, right? So you have to realize with the button, like the button is the widest position. They're gonna be opening like on average like 40 to 50% of the hand, right? So versus that range, I think we can have a pretty wide value 3-betting range, right? So if you have a pretty wide value 3-betting range, then it means that we're gonna have to have a decent amount of bluffs to be balanced, right? So I think if something like this, like what do we want to do, like 6% value, something like that. So I think ace-10 suited is for value here for sure. King queen suited, king jack suited, I think this is value 3-betting here. What else? Are we 3-betting anything else for value? I think king queen off should be 3-bet for value, I think. So if this is our value 3-betting range versus button, which looks kind of right, I think it looks kind of right? I think if this is our value range, so we want to have at least like around twice as many bluffs. So I think our overall range should be around 18%. So should be around 18% 3-bet. I think it should be optimal. What do you guys think? Do you agree? And yeah, now we can start adding hands, right? I mean, again, as I said, in the small blind, you're not going to be flatting as much. So obviously we want to be 3-betting some small pocket pairs, right? Then what else? We want to be bluffing like ace-10. Ace-jack off is kind of borderline between if we're value betting it or bluffing with it, right? Same as ace-10. I mean, like you could find arguments saying that ace-jack off, ace-10 off is going to be a 3-bet for value, that pocket fives are going to be a 3-bet for value. Sure, but you have to draw a line somewhere, right? So I drew a line with ace-queen off here and 10s plus, so that this is the value. So now we're just going to treat those hands, the other hands, as bluffs, right? Or semi-bluffs at least. So something like this. What else? Obviously some suited aces. We're gonna see how fast are we going to come to 18%. As I said, you don't want to be flatting too much. Like for example, those small suited connectors, I think they're fine as bluff 3-bets because you don't want to be flatting them, having big blind there still to act, right? So something like that, 10-8 suited, jack 8, jack 9 suited, something like that. Queen 9, queen 8 suited, I think should be okay. What else? With kings, I mean, we're flatting king 10 suited, probably king 9. I think you can go like something like king 8 suited. You can add those. Like suited kings are really good to do that because you have a king blocker, right? So you want to use a decent amount of those hands. What else do we want to use? I think that it's gonna be pretty hard to get wider than that. Let's see, king jack off, I guess. Obviously, king jack off should be a good candidate to bluff 3-bet there. Queen jack off, I guess you can do it. You can have it. You can take it away. We're already there with that. Something like this, right? So I think something like this, having a range like this to 3-bet 18.5% should be fine. You can easily add small suited aces and we're at 19%, right? I mean, this is kind of wide, I guess. But I think it's fine. I think something like that should be pretty sweet and sexy to have as a 3-betting range. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Ah shit, come on, making misclicks. So we are going to copy paste this. So this is a bit more than 18%. This is around 19%, but it's okay. It's around 18%, right? So let's take a look at the last one. So versus button in big blind. So here, I think we still want to have a pretty wide range. I would say around. Well, let's take a look again. I'm not gonna speak out of my head. We're just gonna construct our range again. So we're gonna clear the matrix. And again, we're pretty much going to be 3-betting the same hands for value. So 10s plus, Ace king off, ace queen off, I guess. Ace 10 suited plus. Maybe even ace 9 suited. We can go in the big blind, something like that. King queen suited, king jack suited, something like that. I mean, yeah, ace 9. No, we're gonna leave it out. I think for value we're gonna go with this. What else do we want to do for value here? Pretty much the same. This is pretty much the same, I guess. I mean, it's gonna be harder to get more hands to 3-bet for value, right? Because again, you're gonna be more inclined to flat some of the hands. Like ace 10 suited is also okay a flat from time to time. Ace queen off I flat sometimes, right? So I mean, if I had to construct, I think I would do something like this, and then we are going to start adding some bluffs. As I said, we're gonna go in a pretty similar fashion, right? So like suited kings, like those suited kings are gonna be cool. I mean, here we're gonna be flatting king 10 suited, king 9 suited for sure. What else? Actually, no, this is a mistake. Like we're in the big blind, right? This is sorry, we're in the big blind. We're gonna be flatting a lot more here because we're closing the action. We're getting good odds. So I think I would just flat with those hands: king 7 6, king 6, king 8 6. So I think maybe I would just 3-bet something like this, like those small suited kings as a bluff, right? I think they're better. And the same goes with queens, like something like this. Because we're flatting queen jack suited, queen 10 suited, queen 9, queen 8, queen 7. So I'm flatting versus that guy because they play really well, right? So again, jack 10 suited, jack 9, jack 8, we're flatting. So we use the smaller portions of our range. Again, 10 9 suited, I'm flatting. 10 8 suited, I guess like you can take these two or flat them. I think it's both fine. I don't know. Like with those small suited connectors, I think you can still use them as bluffs. I think they're gonna be totally appropriate as bluffs. I mean, you can even widen here a bit, right? Something like 5-4 suited, 5-3, something like that. I mean, we have to get to like 17% here, so we are going to have to, add quite a lot of hands here. King queen. Well, king queen would be a flat. I think we're flatting king queen there. I'm not 3-betting it. King jack off. I'm also. This is kind of close. It's getting hard to construct the range here. I guess we're flatting for value with king queen off and then 3-betting as a bluff with king jack off. This is so interesting. I mean, I haven't done that in a long time, so it's kind of hard to construct this range. Just 9-6 suited. I think I would still keep it. 9-7 suited. Yeah, I think we can go with those, and we're at 17.4. We actually wanna even add. No, but I think it's fine. Like having a 17% 3-bet big blind versus button is going to be totally fine in my opinion. Because like, I mean, you have to realize you're going to be like all of these hands in between here, queen jack, like these hands, and this suited aces. You're gonna be flatting those, right? I think I'm just gonna be jack 9, so I'm gonna be always calling those hands. I'm gonna be always like calling those pocket pairs, right? I mean, you can add small pocket pairs still to 3-bet. You can flat them. I think this is fine. So I think something like that should be fine, right? It is around 17%, which is, I think, fine. Like 19% in the small blind, 17% in the big blind. I think it should be fine. So it is around 17%. So I think in general, this is how you should be 3-betting. Like, I mean, obviously you can go in different ways for sure, right? But the thing is, okay, let's take. I'm gonna write down the numbers, so I'm gonna see how much this is. So this is like, sorry, 10 9 suited 9 8 down to 6 5 and 4s and 3s. So this is 4.5% here, around 4.5%. What am I missing here? Versus MP in small blind. Let's take a look. So versus MP in small blind is like this: queens, jack 10 suited down to 7 6 suited, and 6 all 6 is all pocket pairs. So that is like 6.5, around 6.5%, around 6.5%, something like this. Versus MP in big blind is pretty much the same, right? Did we had queen 10, jack 9, 10 8. That's pretty much it. Oh, we removed the pocket pairs. Yeah, okay, makes sense. 7 6 5 4 like this. So this is like 5.8%. So around 5.8%. Something like this. Versus cutoff in small blind. Let's take a look at what percentage this is. So jacks for value, king 10 suited, 9-7 suited, sorry, 5-4 is the same, 5, 8-5, 8-4 suited, so it's around 9.3%. Is this correct? Yeah, I think it is, right? Yeah, okay, 9.3. So around 9.3%. Versus cutoff in the big blind, we're gonna take a look at this one too. I think again it's gonna be pretty much similar, right? Removing those small pocket pairs, adding some connect double gappers 9-7, and removing those hands that we are flatting here, and adding king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, right? Something like this, and all suited aces. So it's 8.4%. So it's around 8.4%. Okay, so I think in general this is going to be a good guideline on what 3-betting ranges to use there. So I'm going to upload a video to YouTube, guys, so you can always take a look at it and see what it is. You can see all those charts and just get a good idea what you should be 3-betting. The thing is, those ranges are really organic. They're not static. They're really dynamic, right? So they're gonna change based on the players, based on your skill level, based on the general player pool tendencies, based on the limit you play. So it's hard to construct like a set in stone chart for everything, right? But if I would have to go with it, if I would have to use something, I think this is the charts I would use to start with. So hopefully it helps, right? Okay, let's go to some questions. Johnny, so does that mean you are just folding ace queen offsuited small blind versus MP or flatting? Again, I think I'm never folding ace queen off there. I think I'm usually flatting or 3-betting. Again, as I said, it's really hard. So if we go take a look versus MP in small blind, we're 3-betting this hands, right? Again, you can always add ace queen off as a bluff 3-bet there, right? But then you have to cut down on your suited connectors, because this is if you add ace queen off, it's already going to be 12 combos. So you have to remove, for example, jack 10 or 7-6 suited, 8-7, and 9-8 suited, right? You have to be balanced, right? You have to be careful that you're not 3-betting too much or too little, right? So it's fine to add it as a bluff, or if you, I don't think you can justify saying you're 3-betting for value with ace queen off in that position versus MP, so it would still be a bluff. So yeah, if you add it, then be careful not to add too many suited connectors, right, to your bluff 3-betting range. But yeah, I think both 3-betting and flatting ace queen off is fine in that spot for sure. Faisal, so versus 4-bet you fold around 60 to 65%. I think it's around 50 to 60%, something like that, right? The reason why is when we say we are 3-betting a certain range for value and certain range as a bluff, that range that we're 3-betting as a bluff is not necessarily meant to be 3-bet folding. With some hands we are going to be calling 4-bet. It does not mean we're going to be stacking off with it, but for example, I don't know, if I 3-bet, let's say versus MP in position, right, and he 4-bets us, here I'm probably gonna have around 60% fold, right? But for example, if I 3-bet versus, I don't know, cutoff in the big blind and he 4-bets us, I'm gonna take some 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited and flat with them occasionally and play a flop even out of position versus him, right? Or for example, in the small blind versus button, if he 4-bets, I'm not just going to be flatting those hands or 5-betting hands that I said that I'm 3-betting for value, right? Those hands are surely either a flat or a 5-bet, right? But all the other hands, I'm also going to consider bluff. For example, 5s, 4s, 3s, and deuces. For example, if he 4-bets, it doesn't mean that I'm folding those hands. Sometimes I'm going to 5-bet bluff with those hands. Or I'm going to 5-bet small suited aces are perfect for 5-bet bluffing, for example. Because with everything that the opponent has, we always have at least 30% equity. Obviously, not versus aces, but versus every other hand that he has, we have at least 30% equity, right? So it means that ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, ace 3 suited, ace deuce suited are going to be 3-bet. And when I face a 4-bet, sometimes I'm going to fold them, especially if he's 4-betting really tightly. But if he's 3-betting quite wide, then I'm gonna use them as a 5-bet bluff, right? Because you have to realize it goes on like that, right? So for example, we have to have one value, 2 bluffs here, and the same with 5-betting. If I 5-bet aces and kings for value, I have to have some bluffs to balance it, right? Because if I'm only gonna be 5-betting for value and have no bluffs, it's going to mean that the opponent's gonna have an easy play versus he's just gonna fold every time I 5-bet, right? So yeah, it doesn't mean we're gonna have around 60 to 65% fold to 4-bet. We would have it if we would be always folding all our bluff 3-bets. But some of our bluff 3-bets we're gonna include into our bluff 5-bets also, right? Hope that makes sense, Faisal. It is a complicated topic. As I said, I'm focusing on 3-bets today, and like maybe some other day we're gonna be focusing on a 4-bet, 5-bet game, and we're gonna see how we construct our 5-betting ranges, right? For example, but it's a wide topic, and I just want to kind of make it like a round topic today, like a whole topic of 3-betting, and not go over it, right? So yeah. I'm Johnny. When you're getting 4-bet by the cutoff after 3-betting, what do you flat with then? And any 5-bet bluff? Yeah, this is basically what we talked about right now, right? So, for example, if we 3-bet versus cutoff, let's say we 3-bet in position versus cutoff. So we're 3-betting in position in the button, and so he 4-bets us. We're probably jamming jacks plus and ace king, right? We're jamming all those stuffs, or flatting, right? Whatever. So we want to have some bluffs too. I mean, we want to be flatting with some 9-8 suited from time to time. We have position. It's a really playable hand, and it's a really disguised hand. So 9-8 suited would be a good flat from time to time. Also, those small suited aces, as I said, are going to be a good 5-bet bluff jams, right? Ace 5 suited, amazing jam. For example, cutoff should be 4-betting. A lot of people are going to be like 4-betting decently wide versus the button 3-bet, right? So I think it makes sense to turn like ace 5, ace 4, ace 3, ace 2 suited into a bluff. So for example, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this range. So clear matrix, let's see. This is our 3-betting range from button versus cutoff, right? So for example, king, jack, queens, like something like this, right? Suit selection, this is going to be like half of the combos. Let's take a look at what our fold to 4-bet would be. Something like this, a7, okay, something like this, right? So this is the range, right? 7.69. So this is like 102 combos. We're gonna write that down in the calculator. We're gonna write, so we have 102 combos that we are 3-betting with. So let's say he 4-bets us, right? So we always make a play with jacks, queens, kings, ace king suited, aces, and kings. So this combos remain. So let's say we always fold ace 10 off, we always fold king jack off and queen jack off, right? Let's say we flat with 9-8 suited and 8 suited half of the time. So we can remove one of those and it's going to be half of the time. Let's say we always fold ace 7 suited, ace 6 suited, and let's say we 5-bet jam as a bluff half of the time with ace 5 to ace 2. So half of the time, so it means 2 combos of each of those 4. Or we can just remove those 2 and this is going to count as half. So now we have 46 combos here, right? That we are continuing to play with, for example. So let's take a look. So we have 46 divided by 102, right? 102. For example, so 46 divided by 102, right? Something like this. So it's 45%. So it means that we're folding to 4-bets 55% of the time, right? So it doesn't mean, you see Faisal, it doesn't mean we're folding 65%. We're folding 55%, which is, I think, pretty close to optimal. As I said, I guess, let's say we always 5-bet jam with those hands. So we're going to have 54 combos. So let's take a look at now. We have 54 combos out of the whole, how much it was? 102 combos, right? Was it? Let's see, 9-7, sub, like this, queen jack, something like this, right? 102 combos, yes. So divided by 102. 102, and now you see 52%. We're only folding 47% now versus 4-bet. I think that might be close to a bit too wide. So you can, I mean, as I said, maybe leaving half of those combos, like something like this here, should be fine. But you see what my point is here. We're not gonna be folding to 4-bets that big, so it's not. You don't have to worry about that. But you have to be balanced. When you're 4-betting, like 5-betting for value with jacks plus, ace king, you have to have some bluffs here, or calls, as with hands like ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited, right? So hope that makes sense, guys. Hope that answers your questions. I'm gonna leave it to it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you find it useful. I think there's a lot of useful stuff here that a lot of people. I mean, I think most of you are gonna you're already gonna have a good grasp of what you should be 3-betting. But in case you're not sure, I think this is a perfect topic to look to get an idea where you might be lacking in terms of 3-betting, where you might be value betting, like value 3-betting too thinly or too wide, or maybe not bluff 3-betting enough, etc., etc., right? So yeah, gonna leave you to it, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure about tomorrow. I might be back tomorrow, but I'm definitely gonna do another theory breakfast on Thursday. Okay, so have fun, everybody. The video is gonna get uploaded to YouTube, so make sure to check it out. You can write !YouTube to get a link to my YouTube channel, and you can find all those theory videos that we're gonna be making on that channel. So have fun, guys, and talk to you later. Bye bye.